Yeah,
There we go. Can you see my screen?
yeah.
Good
Yeah.
stuff. Thank you. Thank you very much to let me know. Okay, so this is Unit 2. In this lesson today, we're going to be covering Unit 2.3, Autobiography and Biography, and Unit 2.5, Speeches. So in the previous lesson 2 weeks ago, we covered Unit 2.1, Letters, Unit 2.2, Articles, and Unit 2.4, Report and Leaflet. So at the end of this lesson, we will have covered the entirety of Unit 2 as in your course information. So biography or autobiography first. What is the difference between an autobiography and a biography? How do we tell them apart? Firstly, an autobiography is written by the author about their own life. Whatever author's name you see on the front, this book is about their own life written from their perspective and with their personal input. It is written in first person, with the author using the words I, me, and we. For example, we went to London. But what about a biography? Well, they're always written by someone else. So you will see the author's name is different to the person their biography is written about. A biography might or might not then have the input of the title person. A biography will be written in third person using words such as he, she, and they. For example, they went to London. So the example picture I've given you here is Steve Jobs. It was a very famous biography a few years ago, and it says at the top, Steve Jobs by Walter Isaacson. So it's a bit of a giveaway there that it's a biography. It doesn't say by Steve Jobs, it's by somebody else. So this one will use he and they rather than I. We're now going to look closely at 2 examples of biographies as given in your CloudLearn course information. So you have these biographies and the links to these in your Cloud port. You may have seen these already, you may not, but don't worry either way. So we'll look at the features of each and we'll talk about what their similarities and differences are and why they are different, this one and the one I will show you afterwards. Remember, while we look at these, to think about audience and purpose as we learn in Unit 1. So try and bear in mind audience and purpose. So this first example here is a biography of William Shakespeare found online on the website Biography Online. I'll read this aloud to you now, so don't worry about trying to read this small writing. I just wanted you to see the full web page to get an impression of how this information looks when you're taking it all in. So William Shakespeare, 1564 to 1616, English poet and playwright. Shakespeare is widely considered to be the greatest writer in the English language. He wrote 38 plays and 154 sonnets. William Shakespeare was born in Stratford-upon-Avon on the 23rd of April, 1564. His father, William, was a successful local businessman, and his mother, Mary, was the daughter of a landowner. Relatively prosperous, it is likely that the family paid for William's education, although there is no evidence he attended university. In 1582, William, aged only 18, married an older woman named Anne Hathaway. They had 3 children, Susanna, Hamnet, and Juliet. Their only son, Hamnet, died aged just 11. After his marriage, information about the life of Shakespeare is sketchy, but it seems he spent most of his time in London writing and acting in his plays. Due to some well-timed investment, Shakespeare was able to secure a firm financial background, leaving time for writing and acting. The best of these investments was buying some real estate near Stratford in 1605, which soon doubled in value. So what features does this online biography have? Well, it states facts that we know about William Shakespeare's life without embellishing them with descriptions or opinions. Instead, it objectively explains the important details in a linear order, starting with where he was born, who his parents were, what he did as a child. Following on from this, the biographer informs the reader about Shakespeare's adult life and works. So having read this biography now, what are some things we notice about this? Does anybody want to take a guess as to the audience or purpose of a bio like this? You're welcome to shout out loud or put your hand up or write it in the chat room. Where do you think this might be found? What was the purpose of the author in writing this? What was their audience? We've worked on that before, so hopefully you've got some ideas. Anybody want to have a go? You don't have to. We're not going to make anybody. So James says to educate maybe for students or researchers. Yeah, exactly that. Yeah, definitely. So this is giving a lot of information, isn't it, in a very short space. So it'd be brilliant if you were trying to find some quick information. Yeah, sorry, so to educate. Say again, Rodri.
Sorry, it's Mark.
That wasn't me. That was
Oh,
someone else.
sorry. Who was it? Sorry.
Sorry, it's Mark. I've
Hi,
just
Mark. Hi,
I've
Mark.
just been sent a link there. I don't know how long this has been going on. I've been trying to get.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Mark. I'm so sorry we missed you.
Oh, Mark, do you know what? I'm sorry to hear. It's Robin just chiming in on this. I did get the link at a quarter till, but Eventbrite seems to have been down for about the last 10 minutes because I've been trying to log in. So
sorry, Mark.
It may be that some of the emails got stuck in some kind of outage that they had. So sorry about that, but she's only been going for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, this is page 3 and you'll be able to see the video back. So don't worry, you haven't missed masses, Mark. Sorry we missed you.
I can't get on until I get an email from you because I've been trying through Eventbrite for the last 20 minutes.
We'll bear that in mind. We'll talk about it at the end and we'll bear that in mind for future. Sorry, Mark. No, it's not you at all. No, it's not you. Thank you. Thank you for letting us know. And I'm glad you're here. I'm glad you're here with us, Mark. It's good to hear from you again.
No bother. Cheers.
Hey.
Well, what I've picked on biography because I've read biography earlier. And sometimes a biography, some of it's true and some of it may not be. You don't know. And it also says that they don't know if he went to university or not, which is a bit puzzling because a lot of university students would be studying him. So
yeah, you're right, Rodri. Yeah, so a lot of the time, especially with a biography that's kind of story based, it may be embellished. So they could take some facts and they could embellish on it and they could expand it a bit more. So you're right, it might not all be the facts, but one like this where it's very much condensed and fact based, and it does say, I think it says that they don't know. Yeah, they don't know whether he attended university. So you could probably trust one like this a bit more than an embellished one. But that's a really good point because we're going to come on this now. So bear that in mind. But yes, you're all right with your guesses so far. Definitely written to educate. There we go. So this one is an extract from Charles Dickens' A Life by Claire Tomalin. I've put the front cover up here at the top to show you, again, to give you an idea of how this extract would be presented to the reader. So this one is in a book format. This is a biography, as with the previous bio of William Shakespeare, but let me read this one to you and then we'll compare the two. You'll notice this one is very different. 14th January 1840, London. An inquest is being held at Marylebone Workhouse, a muddled complex of buildings spread over a large area between the Marylebone Road and Paddington Street. The beadle, a parish officer responsible for persuading householders to do their duty as jurors at such inquests, has assembled 12 men. Most of them are middle-aged local tradesmen, but one stands out among them as different. He is young and slight, smartly dressed and good-looking, neither tall nor short at 5'9", with dark hair falling in curls over his forehead and collar. He is a new resident who has just moved into a fine, airy house with a large garden close to Regent's Park at York Gate. It is number 1 Devonshire Terrace, from which the beadle has made haste to summon him to his duty. In this extract, Tomalin starts right in the middle of a story, rather than at the beginning of Dickens's life, to grab the reader's attention and highlight a specific event of interest. It gives us details about the person, so we can better imagine him as we read. For example, he is young and slight, smartly dressed and good-looking. This contrasts to the middle-aged tradesman, also mentioned, and makes him interesting and romantic with his dark hair falling in curls over his forehead. We are given facts, but rather than they simply being listed or stated, they are here surrounded with embellishment, like evocative descriptions and intricate detail. So what does this different structure do to the reader? What can we say about this extract in comparison to the Shakespeare one? Does anyone have anything to say about this one in comparison? What might the audience for this be, or the purpose for this text? You're welcome to put it in the chat box if you don't want to speak. So it's quite different. I hope you notice the differences between these two. Not just the fact that it starts in the middle, but it's a lot more personal, this one, isn't it? This is not just listing facts. So whereas the other one was to educate, James said, to educate maybe students or researchers. If they were looking for information here on Dickens, it would take a while to get to the facts, wouldn't it? So James has said to entertain or persuade. Yeah, that's a really good idea, to persuade. Yeah, that's a good one. Definitely to entertain. Yeah, it's definitely telling a story, isn't it? And you're picking up a book. You know, if you're reading a whole book, you don't want it to be just a list of facts, do you? So yeah, this one is definitely written more to entertain. Well done, thank you. So the similarities between the two, well, both are factual, both give facts, both of them are accurate as they can be, and both of them are informative. But the difference is, so one is embellished with storytelling, that will be the Charles Dickens one. One was written to entertain as well as inform, again, the Dickens. And one gives information much quicker and much more concise than the other, which is the Shakespeare one. You get the information much quicker without having to search through a story. And the purpose. So one was written to inform, and the Dickens one written to inform and entertain. Well done, James, for that one. And the audience, people wanting to learn, would be the online bio. People like students searching for a quick answer, searching for something to put in an essay, research probably. And people wanting to learn while being entertained would probably pick up the book on Dickens. You definitely want to be entertained, but you're not picking up a fiction. So you probably want to learn something at the same time. So in your course information, you then get given an extract from Chinese Cinderella by Adeline Yen Ma, which is an autobiography. As I mentioned previously, an autobiography is about the author's own life and is therefore written in first person with much more feeling and imagery than a biography. I won't read the whole extract you're given here from Chinese Cinderella. It's too long, but you can find it in your course information and read it in your own time. And for now, I will mention the quotes that we're going to be talking about that are relevant to our learning here today.
No, but ages ago.
Did you? Well done, Rodri.
No, that I did it, didn't I? So.
Yeah, well done. So in her autobiography, Yen Ma uses many examples of figurative language, which we will go over here now in more detail. But first, let's talk about why she uses figurative language and what this achieves for her. Bear in mind, we always have to be thinking about the author's purpose. So what purpose does figurative language have for Yen Ma? Let's take a look. Word choice has a very large impact on the tone of a piece of writing, and we can see it in the first paragraph of this extract, that Yen Ma is using word choice very well to give across an atmosphere of foreboding and dread. I'll read this quote to you now, and you'll try and listen for the tone of foreboding and dread. Time went by relentlessly, and it was Saturday again. 8 weeks more, and it would be the end of term. In my case, perhaps the end of school forever. 4 of us were playing Monopoly. My heart was not in it, and I was losing steadily. Outside it was hot and there was a warm wind blowing. The radio warned of a possible typhoon the next day. It was my turn and I threw the dice. As I played, the thought of leaving school throbbed at the back of my mind like a persistent toothache. So this use of the word again in the first sentence emphasizes the relentless nature of time, making it seem like the time between last Saturday and this one was not long enough. It is as if Yen Ma cannot believe it is Saturday already and wishes the weeks were longer. All of this information can be deduced just from this one word choice again. So Yen Ma conveys a lot in just that one word. The phrase end of school forever conveys an ominous tone of finality and dread by emphasizing her inability to physically return to this part of her life again. At the end of this extract, Yen Ma uses a simile to further convey this anguish towards leaving school. She says, "The thought of leaving school throbbed in the back of my mind like a toothache." We know this is a simile, which we covered in our Unit 1 lesson, because she compares one thing to another using like. So the thought of leaving school is like a toothache. It isn't literally a toothache, it is just like one, so it's a simile. But what does this simile do? Well, it compares a thought to something which gives persistent pain, implying that the thought gives her persistent pain as well, this time emotional. And lastly, Yen Ma also uses symbolism to convey her feelings of nervous anticipation. The possible typhoon the next day is symbolic of her belief that something terrible will happen to her very soon. Symbolism is described as the use of symbols to represent ideas or qualities, and here Yen Ma uses the symbol of a typhoon to express how nervous she is. Your course information then goes into detail here, explaining that this quote about a typhoon isn't a metaphor or a simile, because she doesn't say the typhoon is or is like anything else. And nor is it pathetic fallacy, which is a kind of personification that gives human emotions to inanimate objects of nature. We're going to be looking at that in a second. So in this first extract, without telling you explicitly, Yen Ma manages to convey her dread of finishing school. And we can see she's clearly not looking forward to this or excited by the prospect. She hasn't told us that in so many words because she didn't need to. You've probably picked up on this tone of the piece by yourself without even noticing, simply because of her word choice. But with English language, we want you to be aware, always aware of the tone you've picked up on and whether the writer has done, what the writer has done, sorry, to make you feel this way. Let's take a further look at tone. Always what they want to hear about in English language. What is the tone of the piece, and why has the writer given you that tone? So we're going to do a bit of a poll here. If you could all answer the poll that comes up. It's completely anonymous. I won't know who's answered or what answers you've given, but it will just be really good to have a bit of interaction and active learning for yourselves. So this quote at the top, "The grey clouds closed in as Tom hurried home." That is either a foreboding or a peaceful tone. I'm going to launch this poll now, and you can vote for A, foreboding, or B, peaceful. What do you think the tone given by that sentence is? Oh, people have started voting. Thank you. I don't know how many are on here today, so I don't know when you've all voted.
We've got 11, so I think we need, oh, it's 9. See, it says 8 of 9 there.
Oh, yeah, I see, yeah. Okay, thank you very much. We've got 8 of 8 votes now, so I'm going to end the poll and I will show you the answers. So most votes were for A, and indeed the answer was foreboding. Yes, well done. It's a very ominous foreboding tone there. The grey clouds closed in as Tom hurried home. We definitely get a foreboding image there, don't we? Okay,
I thought it was foreboding, but I thought foreboding was B, so I pressed the bloody one.
Oh, don't worry, we can't see. We can't see, don't worry. Right, I'm going to relaunch the poll and we're going to go again. So I slammed my books down and threw myself on the bed. What tone do we get from this? Do we get an A, angry, or B, calm tone?
Oh, could you read that again, please? Sorry.
Sure can. I slammed my books down and threw myself onto the bed. Is that angry or calm?
I think you want to say A is angry, B is calm, just
Sorry,
in case it's popping up over people's windows.
Yeah, we did get that last week, that the window might be popping up. So I will read them all out to you. Sorry, I should have read that one out. But you can move the window as well. So I will read them out properly to you.
Claire, just a reminder, if they're on a device, they can't move the window.
They can't,
so,
okay.
So
okay.
If you read it out and let them see it before you launch the poll.
Right, yep, will do. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Okay, so
we're getting there.
We're getting there eventually. It's only took 3 lessons. So I will end this one now and share the results. Well done. People went for A, and it was indeed angry. Yeah, the slamming of the books and throwing onto the bed gives an angry tone. It doesn't need to say that this person is angry. We get that from the implication. So I will go on to the next screen now before I load the poll. Here we go. This sentence: the warm sun shone down on them as they lay on the grass. We have option A, is that an uncomfortable tone? Or option B, is that a tranquil tone? So the warm sun shone down on them as they lay on the grass. A, uncomfortable, or B, tranquil? Okay, we have all the votes. Nice. Thank you so much. So the answer, B, tranquil. Yes, very tranquil. Well done. Everybody got that one right. Congratulations. The warm sun. Yeah, the warm sun, and they're just laying on the grass. Yeah, really comfortable, really tranquil. This one's a different way now. So we're looking for a calm tone. I want you to give me the sentence that gives the calm tone. So we have the option A, the leaves gently drifted down into the glassy water below. Or option B, the leaves suddenly dropped into the turbulent water below. We're looking for the calm tone. So A, the leaves gently drifted down into the glassy water below. Or B, the leaves suddenly dropped into the turbulent water below, which is calm. Thank you all for your votes. Everybody was right. Well done. Yeah, the leaves gently drifted down. Well done. So I hope you can see there that the same thing is happening in both sentences. Leaves are falling into water. That is what is happening. But the way the writer chooses the word choice and chooses the word placement and the language gives an impression of how the leaves are dropping into the water and what's happening around it. That's always really important to bear in mind when you look at any piece of writing. Thank you for joining in. Another poll coming up later. So later in this extract, we read that Yen Ma is dreading having to go and meet her father. And we learn that this relationship is clearly awkward and difficult. One of the other uses of figurative language that Yen Ma employs to show us is this rhetorical question, why, at the end of this quote. See me in his room. I was overwhelmed by the thought that I had been summoned by father to enter the Holy of Holies, a place to which I had never been invited. Why? As this why does not have speech marks around it, we know it is not directed to anyone around Yen Ma at the time. Instead, it is a rhetorical question because she is contemplating why this might be the case without expecting an answer from anyone. The definition of a rhetorical question is a question which is asked without expecting an answer because the answer is implied, obvious, or unanswerable. In this case, the rhetorical question adds to the suspense of the passage by indicating there is information both the reader and Yen Ma don't know. This causes the reader, like Yen Ma, to contemplate the reason she's been called to her father's room. In this passage, Yen Ma also describes her father's room as the Holy of Holies. This is a metaphor, as it literally isn't the Holy of Holies. This is just being used in a comparable way. But to say that it is the Holy of Holies makes this a metaphor. If it said it was like, that would be a simile. The Holy of Holies, we could also describe this as hyperbole, which is a description that over-exaggerates something. Yen Ma's father evidently worships his own room and takes so much pride in it that it is like a holy sanctuary. We may therefore conclude that the father also thinks of himself as godlike. And while Yen Ma is here making a serious point about her father's power over her as a female being godlike, the use of hyperbole and over-exaggeration also brings a lighter air and tone to a suspenseful passage. Pointing out her father's vanity in this way also humorously undermines him. We see another example of hyperbole in this extract later on, when Yen Ma describes going to England as like entering heaven. We've all been to England. We know it isn't like entering heaven. Not literally. This is a gross over-exaggeration. And so again, this is hyperbole. We'll go over that in a sec. So this is the autobiography. This is what the book cover looks like. I think it's always nice to get an impression of the book as how it is presented on a shelf. So what does this autobiography, written this way, with all this use of figurative language devices, do for the reader? Well, later in the passage, when we learn Yen Ma's father plans to send her to England, which is her dream, we feel the relief and happiness for her as we felt the dread and suspense of what this meeting could have meant along with her. Would this feeling and connection with Yen Ma have happened if she'd simply said, at this point in my life, I felt nervous? No, it certainly wouldn't. And so through the use of literary techniques and structural devices, the reader is drawn into the story further and an emotional response is elicited. So let's talk a bit further about those devices that were mentioned. They were really briefly gone over in your course information and really briefly gone over in this. So we're going to do a bit of another poll on this, a bit of a fun activity, hopefully, to make these make a little bit more sense. So on the left here, we have these figurative language literary techniques. We have hyperbole. I think hopefully you can see my cursor. Hyperbole. We have symbolism. We have pathetic fallacy and rhetorical question. And on the right here, we have A, B, C, D. These are descriptions and these describe each of these, but they're mixed up. We're going to guess the right one. So A, use of symbols to represent ideas or qualities beyond the literal meaning. B, a question asked to create dramatic effect or to make a point rather than to get an answer. C, exaggerated statements or claims not meant to be taken literally. And D, the attribution of human feelings and responses to inanimate things or animals. So if I load the poll again, we're going to go first with hyperbole. Which of these definitions describes hyperbole? Is it A, B, C, or D? If anyone wants me to read them out again, I'm happy to.
Yeah, I think I know the answer.
Do you? Oh, no, I don't want that poll. I want this poll.
Oh.
There we go. So A, is hyperbole the use of symbols to represent ideas or qualities beyond the literal meaning? Is hyperbole a question asked to create dramatic effect or to make a point rather than to get an answer? Is it C, exaggerated statements or claims not meant to be taken literally? Or D, the attribution of human feelings and responses to inanimate things or animals? These will get easier as we go along because we'll be crossing one out. Oh, there's one more person want to answer? 9. Thank you so much. Okay, so let me announce it before I end the poll because you can't see it, can you? So hyperbole was C, exaggerated. Yes, an over-exaggeration, like entering England is like entering heaven. Let me share the results with you. And well done. Most of you got that one. Absolutely. Well done. So the second one now is going to be symbolism. And obviously it's not C now. We've crossed C out. So let's relaunch the poll. Is symbolism A, the use of symbols to represent ideas or qualities beyond the literal meaning? B, a question asked to create dramatic effect or to make a point rather than to get an answer? Or D, the attribution of human feelings and responses to inanimate things or animals? Which one is symbolism? 9, well done. Symbolism was A, the use of symbols, kind of gave it away, that one, and you were all right. Well done. Well done. So the third one now, pathetic fallacy. Is it option B or option D? Let me share the poll again. So is pathetic fallacy B, a question asked to create dramatic effect or make a point rather than get an answer, or D, the attribution of human feelings and responses to inanimate things or animals? 6 votes. 7, 8, 9. Well done. So pathetic fallacy is indeed, it's a type of personification, and the personification specifically that attributes human feelings, responses, emotions to inanimate things and animals. So let me share the results. Most of you were right. Very well done. And the last one, rhetorical question. We only have option B left. It looks like it's going to be B, but I will relaunch the poll. Yes, well done. B, rhetorical question. Yes, a question asked to make a dramatic effect. Well done. Thank you very much. So we're going to properly test you now. We have the same techniques on the left: hyperbole, symbolism, pathetic fallacy, and rhetorical question. But on the right, we have examples this time rather than descriptions. We have examples. So A, I've walked 1,000,000 miles to get here. B, the angry wind swirled around the schoolyard. C, is this some kind of joke? And D, a single red rose grew in the garden as the girl left her house for her date. So we'll go in order again. So the first one, hyperbole. Which one is the example? Is it A, B, C, or D? Hyperbole, is it I've walked 1,000,000 miles to get here? The angry wind swirled around the schoolyard. C, is this some kind of joke? Or D, a single red rose grew in the garden as the girl left her house for her date? 6 have voted. People less confident on this one. It is trickier when you've not got the definition there, isn't it? 8. One more? 9. Well done. Okay, so this one, I've walked 1,000,000 miles to get here. You haven't literally walked 1,000,000 miles. So that one is an over-exaggeration. It is hyperbole. Well done to everybody that got that one. Very well done. So our second one, symbolism. We've got 3 options now for symbolism. B, the angry wind swirled around the schoolyard. C, is this some kind of joke? Or D, a single red rose grew in the garden as the girl left the house for her date. Which one are we going for? B, C, or D for symbolism? Oh, 4 of you are very quick. 6 of you are very quick. Oh, do we have one more? Well done. Thank you so much. So symbolism. Symbolism is one of the trickiest ones. So this one is a single red rose, and it's the red rose that is the symbol. So she's about to go on her date, and we associate red roses with love and luck and all things romantic. So we get the impression, we get the symbolism and the tone from this sentence that it's going to be a good date, that she's going to have some love. That is a tricky one, though. Well done. So pathetic fallacy. We have 2 options left. That B, the angry wind swirled around the schoolyard, or C, is this some kind of joke? What are we going with for pathetic fallacy? Oh, very quick. 5 people, 6, 7, 8. Anybody else? 9, thank you so much. The angry wind, because we have given an emotion to the wind which doesn't usually have a human emotion. We have said that the wind is angry, which it cannot be. We have attributed a human feeling to the wind, which is called pathetic fallacy and is a type of personification. All 9 of you got that one. Well done. So the last one, rhetorical question. Sorry, I'm sharing the wrong one with you. There we go. Rhetorical question. Is this some kind of joke? But feel free to vote. 8 of you. 9. Well done. Yeah, rhetorical question. It's a question that doesn't require an answer. Is this some kind of joke? You're probably not actually asking somebody if this is a kind of joke. You're probably being insulting. Thank you so much for joining in. Thank you very much. Always like it when everyone joins in with me. Oh, there we go. That's the answer. So this final part of Unit 2 we have to cover now is speeches. What makes a good speech? Well, firstly, most good speeches will have a 3-part structure. This includes a highly engaging and motivational opening, a well-structured argument with several main points, and then finally a positive conclusion. The language used can be anywhere from formal to colloquial, depending on the audience, but speeches almost always use persuasive language as their main purpose is to convince listeners of a particular point of view. Rhetorical questions are often used too, to cause listeners or readers to ask themselves these questions that have been raised and to involve themselves in the conversation. Speeches often use the address you, we, and talk a lot about I and us. This involves the listener, makes them want to side with the speaker and feel as if they are being spoken to directly. Speeches are often very emotive, giving more weight to what they are saying and causing a deeper link between the listener and the cause. For example, when speaking of climate change, President Obama, in the speech you have in your course information, talks of raging fires and crippling drought. These examples of pathetic fallacy evoke emotion in the listeners and do far more for engagement than simply listing facts and statistics. A speech might also utilize a figure of speech called antithesis. Antithesis is the contrast of 2 opposing ideas that are held together to create tension. This is achieved in a figure of speech by putting 2 opposing phrases together in a sentence. Examples of this juxtaposition of ideas can be seen in well-known phrases like go big or go home, no pain, no gain, and fail to plan, plan to fail. Your course information now focuses at this point on one speech in particular, which is entitled The Danger of a Single Story by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. I can't play or read the whole speech for you now, it's too long, but the link is available on your course information. So I urge you to take a look if you haven't already. It's a great example of a speech. So we'll go over now what makes it a good speech and why we've chosen to look at it here. As Adichie is explicitly stating her opinions in a very straightforward vocabulary, the themes of this piece are easy to comprehend. Straightforward and simple language is often used in speeches because the speaker wants their message to be clear and understood by many people. Adichie also uses a very simple narrative structure in this speech. Like many great speakers, she doesn't use complicated statistics or facts to support her argument. Instead, she just tells a story. She reflects on her own personal experience to show that stereotyping peoples and culture is wrong. Adichie begins by describing her childhood experiences, reflecting on how her education and upbringing influenced her opinions. She describes how reading African literature taught her to think beyond single stories, and then shows how she encountered other examples of a single story stereotyping throughout her life, using examples of her time at university and in Mexico. This type of story is described as chronological or linear because it describes events in the order in which they happened in her life. Adichie repeats key phrases throughout the speech, such as single story, no possibility, and stories matter. You'll find repetition a lot in all kinds of speeches. It's very good for persuading people by hammering a certain message home. Short single sentence paragraphs emphasize the argument by standing out from the longer paragraphs. For example, the last paragraph of "She assumed that I did not know how to use a stove." And short sentences, along with repetition, make her ideas stand out and give her words emphasis. For example, "I'm a storyteller." These short sentences give her words emphasis because the full stops breaking up the sentences to create dramatic pauses, which make the previous words stand out. The speech finishes with a triumphant and uplifting ending, which is important as this is a positive take-home message for the listeners and their lasting impression of the speech. Adichie's poetic phrase, "we regain a kind of paradise," stands out amongst the simple, straightforward language used in the rest of the speech. So considering we've said that speeches should be memorable, let's talk about some speeches we remember. What speeches stand out to you when you think of famous ones? So I'm going to give you some phrases here and let's see if we can guess the line from these famous speeches. So you're welcome to say it out loud, fill in the speech, or say who said it, or write it in the chat box. The first one here, "I have a blank." You've got to know this famous speech.
I know it.
Go
But
on.
I have a dream.
I have a dream. Absolutely. Yes, well done. I have a dream. Who said that one?
Mystery.
Mystery. Who said it originally, Mystery?
That's Martin Luther Jr.
Martin Luther King.
MLK, absolutely. Yes, well done, James, on the chat as well. Yes, it is. I have a dream. Okay, they're going to get harder. Not all that easy. "We shall fight them on the blank." Can anyone fill in the blank or tell me who that one is? You have to imagine it read in a really old-timey voice.
Is it not Winston Churchill?
It is, yeah. And Marcus said beaches. Well done. Yeah, so the blank is beaches and it is Winston Churchill. "We will fight them on the beaches." Absolutely. Okay, they get harder still. "Ask not what your blank can do for you. Ask what you can do for your blank." Country, straight in there, Mark. Well done. Yeah, ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country. Do we know who said that one? Anyone want to take a guess? Who said that one?
JFK.
JFK, yes.
Trying to
he
get the
did.
mic off there.
Yeah, JFK said that one. Another famous one. Okay, last one. "You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. How blank you." It's not a swear word.
Is it Dare?
How dare you? Yes, it is. How dare you? Who said that, Rodri?
Yeah.
Well done. Who said it originally, Rodri? Who shouted that?
Oh, I thought you meant who said it. Was it Rodri?
Rodri
No,
said it. Yes, he did.
Yeah, it
He
was
stood
me.
up at
I
the
made that
UN.
up. I'm not fully sure who wrote that. I'm not
Well,
gonna lie.
well done for getting it without knowing who.
Yeah.
Does anyone know who said this one?
No.
It's a female, and it says, "You've stolen my dreams and my childhood." She's
it Hillary
very
Clinton?
good. No, it's not. No, this is
I
Greta.
know there's a video of her on there when she was younger.
She does do some very famous ones. No, this is Greta. Greta Thunberg.
Okay.
Yes. So Greta Thunberg, how dare you? Yeah, she's actually very good at writing a speech. Very good. One of the best at the minute at writing. I don't know if she writes them herself or what, but hers are very good. So
'Cause
the
there was one-
who
there
dare,
was a
how dare
video-
you? Yeah,
there's a
go on,
video-
Rodri.
There's a video on Hillary Clinton,
Mhm.
and I think she was doing a speech for women's rights.
Yeah, she's a very famous one as well. Sempsey has said, "Please share the answers." Absolutely, Sempsey. So it's "I have a dream." "We shall fight on the beaches." "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." And "You have stolen my dreams and my childhood with your empty words. How dare you?" Thank you very much.
Will questions like this come up?
So in an exam, you aren't ever going to get something like fill in the blank. It's never ever going to be that easy.
And you're not going to ask you who wrote this speech, and then you have to know. Okay.
It's never that easy.
Just making sure that I don't have to look at loads of different speeches.
No. So if they give you a speech, which is quite likely, they may well give you a speech in an exam. They would give it to you and they would tell you who wrote it, but then they would ask you to write about it. So you would be pulling apart the pieces of a speech that we've been talking about, or write in your own.
I don't have to, because I would do that, but it
No.
probably would help my general knowledge. But I just wondered. All right, that's fine.
Well, reading speeches is great for learning the
I mean,
vocabulary in speeches and the
it may be good
format.
to do anyway for my general knowledge, but I just wondered it for the.
No, they're never going to do that. No,
Yeah,
this is for our fun. This is good for our fun, but sadly, your GCSE is not going to be like this. Apologies. So what have we learned in this lesson? We have learned the difference between autobiography and biography and some features of each of these. We have learned the difference between third and first person narratives. That's the difference between I did this and he did this. We've learned what symbolism is, what pathetic fallacy is, what a rhetorical question is, what hyperbole is, and how to say hyperbole, how to construct a speech, and the linguistic characteristics of a speech. And that concludes our whole Unit 2 now. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for joining in. Well done on the polls. And there's my little Greta. She's fab, isn't she? I love her. Thank you so much.